Why did the neuron break up with their partner? Because they couldn't make connections anymore. Welcome to today's episode of Longevity Series with Dr. Elena Seranova. I'm a neuroscientist. I did my PhD in stem cell biology and neurodegeneration at the University of Birmingham, UK, and I love joking around about neuroscience. But today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people are actually concerned about when it comes to neurodegeneration. And let me tell you, neurodegeneration doesn't need to be spooky anymore, because we actually can prevent neurodegeneration to such a large extent. So people think it's all genetics and chronic diseases such as neurodegeneration are inevitable, but actually I have good news for you, because today we're going to be talking about the daily changes you can implement in your lifestyle that actually account for up to 90% of the prevention of neurodegenerative disorders. So yes, you heard this right. So genetics is only 10%, and then another 90% is actually highly modifiable, from epigenetics to things such as environmental factors. This is what we're going to talk about today. And the first thing is obviously a very common one and a very known one, which is the environmental toxins. But there are a couple of things that people don't realize. So besides the obvious air pollution, water pollution and such, heavy metals that could be in the water supply, actually there is another hot spot for toxins in your food that you might think that it's actually healthy. And please stay tuned until the end of this episode, like and subscribe, because we will be unpacking a lot of super useful information, including some technical implementation of it in your daily life, in your daily routine, in order to prevent neurodegeneration and decay, which is exactly the subject that I studied for many years at the University of Birmingham. Okay, so what is the number one spot for toxins in your food supply that you're not even aware of? And actually, it's vegetables. Can you imagine that? So we grew up hearing about how healthy it is to be eating vegetables all the time, and you need to eat the rainbow. But actually, we only eat 2% of plant-based foods, of plants, because 98% of them is not edible, it's not digestible by the human gut. And plants contain fiber that is soluble and insoluble, and a lot of fiber is actually insoluble, meaning that we don't have the capability, the human gut doesn't have the capability to digest all of this insoluble fiber, which actually leads to indigestion and all kinds of irritable bowel syndrome, bloatiness, and gas and all this stuff. And actually, we grew up thinking that we need to have salad with every meal because it's much more healthier than having processed foods. So this was the case in my family as well. So we would have salad with every meal because we thought it was healthy, but actually I would end up being so bloated and having all these indigestion symptoms like all over the years, and I thought that this is just how my body works and this is natural. So when we're talking about optimal diet composition, when we're talking about nutrient dense and physiologically relevant human diet, we actually evolved eating meat and eating animal-based food for so long, for basically a lot of hundreds of thousands of years, maybe 3 million years or more as a human species. We evolved eating meat, right? And meat organs and different food that have animal origin. So when you switch to a diet that actually has significantly less fiber, you stop having all of this irritable bowel syndromes, which to me was mind-blowing when I experienced it myself, and that's the reason why I recommend it. But back to the subject of our video today is actually, the environmental toxins and the pesticides and the various toxins that plants actually produce themselves, because they evolved to protect themselves from predators because they can't move, right? So they produce all these substances that actually are not really healthy for you. They're not healthy for humans and other animals because they're just trying to kill you, which is crazy. And we just decided that 2% of those species are actually good for us to eat for some reason. And then of course on top of that we have fruits that are being loaded with extra sugar, extra carbohydrate to increase consumption and to make it more sweet and to sell more. So we are breeding them. We genetically engineer plants in order to eat them, and this is obviously a mistake because we're not equipped to digest so much fiber. So that's one thing. And actually by accumulating those toxins, what happens in our brain is neuroinflammation. So we start having an inflammatory response on the brain-gut axis, basically. So our gut is inflamed all the time, and actually the accumulation of those toxins makes our brain inflamed as well, which is something that is causing axon neurodegeneration in our brain. So our neurons are having chronic inflammation, and that's the reason why we actually launched the NAD Brain supplement, which is a proprietary blend that I formulated for over 2 years of R&D research stemming from my PhD project at the University of Birmingham, and we fine-tuned all the quantities of those ingredients in the blend in order to make sure that it actually brings your inflammation down in your brain specifically. So we do have a blend of antioxidants, we do have a blend of specialized vitamins and compounds, longevity compounds such as fisetin, for example, which is a senolytic that has been shown in human clinical trials to contribute to better brain health. And actually we have another substance there called apigenin, which is a natural compound extracted from chamomile and grapefruit, but actually the concentration of this compound is optimal in order to prevent the leakage of NAD from your brain. You might have already heard about NAD before, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is basically the master regulator of human health. So those are just a couple of ingredients that we have in this blend, and at the moment we are running our Halloween promotion with 15% off with the code NMN Spooky that you can find in the description of this video until we run out of stock. You can purchase and you can save a bit more with a subscription for the NAD Brain product, but also the morning bundle. So the morning bundle is the NAD Brain plus NMN, which is of course the king of anti-aging, and TMG, which is an amazing compound that contributes to better DNA repair, but also gives you the necessary methyl groups to produce more neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. That's the reason why we have better focus and concentration being reported by our customers after taking TMG. And of course it gives the NMN, the methyl groups, in order to make sure that you metabolize your NMN in the best way possible. So back to brain health. Neuroinflammation is one thing that is unfortunately increasing with age, but that's the reason why we launched the NAD Brain product. And you might be wondering, what else can you do in order to bring down the neuroinflammation, but also to improve your recovery during sleep? And something that I recently came across and discussed with someone was basically sleeping patterns, because I consistently can hit 97, 98, 99, even 100% recovery rates during my sleep, just because I have a consistent sleeping pattern, and I also take the NAD brain, of course. But what matters the most here is that you actually go to sleep at the same time every day, including the weekends. So a friend of mine was telling me that actually, he goes out on weekends and he's partying with his friends, and then he just can't understand why it's so hard for him to wake up during weekdays with an alarm on. And this was kind of like a completely different world to me, because I never use an alarm. I naturally wake up around 5, 6 a.m. Myself, and I don't need an alarm because I always go to sleep between 9 and 10 p.m., maybe like 96% of the time, right? So maybe I'm traveling and such sometimes, but when I'm at home, I always go to sleep between 9 and 10 p.m., and this largely applies to my weekends as well. And then of course another thing that improves my cognitive function, my sleep rate recovery, is not to have food 5 hours before sleep. So if I'm going to sleep between 9 and 10 p.m., my last meal of the day is at 5 p.m. the latest. Usually it's around 3 p.m. because I'm also doing intermittent fasting, which is great for autophagy, it's great for your liver. Usually I'm having 2 meals a day, one at 11, 12, and then another one around 3 to 4 p.m. when I'm at home. And with that, I'm able to basically push my physical and cognitive recovery to a whole different level. So for some people, it might be hard to hit a recovery rate of over 90-95%, but for me, it's very consistent. It's always between, like most days, it will be between 97 and 100% sleep recovery rate. So that's pretty cool. So I'm very sorry if I'm pronouncing some words in a bit of a weird way here. I'm actually having some dental work done this week, so I might be appearing like I have a slight speech defect or something this week. But there's nothing wrong with me, and let's go to our next point, which is mental stimulation. And I have super exciting news to share with you today, because actually we are building a brain game exclusively for the subscribers of our mobile app. So you can download the NMN Bio app for free from the App Store or the Google Play Store. So you just type in NMN Bio, and then you get access to exclusive discounts before anyone else in the market. So first, we do send our exclusive offers to the mobile app, so please download and activate the push notifications as well so you can receive those. And we also have a free intermittent fasting tracker for you in the app. We have a wellness questionnaire, so you can actually compare how you feel every 30 days after implementing some lifestyle changes with your supplements and your routines. And also, we are currently finalizing an amazing brain game custom-made experience for you, so you can also track your brain health and you can see how your brain responds to things like supplementation or consistent sleep routine. So that's the thing there. And with regards to the mental stimulation, I personally love listening to different podcasts such as Peter Attia, The Drive, or the Huberman Lab podcast. And I don't judge Andrew Huberman for his love life, but I do evaluate people in the systems that I interact with them in. So for example, I don't evaluate Andrew Huberman as a man, I just evaluate him as a professional and amazing science communicator. So I am still listening to his podcasts because there was some hate towards him lately because of all of this scandal with his 7 girlfriends and whatnot. However, back to the subject of our video, those would be my 3 recommendations for brain health for today. So number 1, again, is to make sure that you don't cause consistent neuroinflammation in your brain, which has to do with nutrition and supplementation, consistent sleeping routine as well, and no food 5 hours before going to sleep, and then of course mental stimulation in one form or another. And I would be very interested to actually learn about your mental stimulation routine. So what are you doing in order to keep your brain active? So please comment down below, and I would really enjoy reading your comments. So that would be all for today. As I said, we do have our Halloween offer this week, so please go to the website and use the code NMN Spooky until we ran out of stock. We're not going to close down the discount code for this week, but please hurry up because we don't have much stock left. So that would be all from me today, and I'll see you in the next one.